So there's something really exciting going on, because right now Manuel is the third in the generation of guitar makers from Spain who make all of those amazing guitars. Is actually coming to our shop, and I'm going to have a little talk with him, because there are so many questions I want to ask him, and this man, I'm sure, has so many answers to him. So he's going to be here like any minute, and there he comes. Yeah, guys, come in.
Hi. Hi guys.
So good to finally see you.
What an amazing store. I'm sorry, I had some amazing wine from Serbia and I spilled my skirt, but anyway, I mean, it's fantastic wine and we had a wonderful dinner, and now coming here, this is like paradise of guitars in Beograd. So congratulations for this store. It's fantastic.
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you so much.
I come here to show you some guitars.
Yeah, sure, come
awesome.
in.
Let's go and see them. You know, I think this is the best store I saw in Serbia. It's amazing.
Thank you so much. Yeah. That warms my heart.
No, really. This guitar I'm showing you is Brazilian rosewood from 1940s from my grandfather.
Wow.
So you can't get this wood. It's always citrus and it takes 4 months to build.
It's like a Brazilian wood.
Yes, it's Brazilian rosewood. And it has all that engravement back and sides, and it's very special. You can't get this woods anymore. And thank God I have citrus and a huge collection of this wood. And it comes from the coffee boxes from my grandfather in 1940s. There was, at that time, there was no wood, so they go to the market, and these coffee boxes
smells like coffee.
Exactly.
But this is marvelous.
Thank you, sir. This retail $20,000. That's our flagship guitar. Sorry, guys, that I spilled the wine here, but anyway, you know, having a great time with these guys. But it sounds like heaven. I mean, it's finished with violin oil, and the sound is like heaven.
You know, yeah, that's like such a full sound.
Thank you, sir. It's my honor.
This is, like, to me, probably the ultimate classical instrument is probably the cello. You know, the low string on the cello is probably the perfect sound in classical music that I have in my head. You know, whenever I hear a classical guitar, I'm not a big expert in this, to be honest. Like, so, but that's the sound I always compare in my head to. And like, it has this really deep cello type of sound, you know.
You know why? The reason is the age of the wood. It's all handmade, and it's like good wines. It's with time. When things are made with time and slow, no instant joy. It's when the things are well made. It's like olive oil or good woods. So a beautiful guitar like this is like a beautiful woman, has to have personality. You have to grab it and make it sound. And that's what we try to make happy the musicians with our wood and with our brand. I'm not the best or the worst guitar maker. I just try to make happy the musician. Because the more brands we have in the market, the more variety we have for musicians.
But that's truly amazing. And
Thank you.
You know, it's like when I see one of those, I always think about, you know, it's like a collection. It's truly a unique thing. And there's going to be limited amounts of those in the world.
Of course, because this wood, there's no more on the planet.
Yes.
Same as the flamenco guitar I wanted to show you from Gypsy Kings. This guitar from Gypsy Kings, guys, is the ones we promote because I speak at the concert about flamenco guitars. I just show you the video.
Wow.
So this is Cypress from 1940s from Aranjuez, and Nicolas Reyes, Maestro Nicolas Reyes and the Gypsy Kings play these instruments. And I'm so fortunate that my grandparents kept this wood for us to enjoy, to make guitars for the musicians worldwide. So you can try this. This is Café Olé. We have another version behind me, Café Cortado. We have all the regal guitars in this amazing store. And this one's made in Spain, and that was made in North Europe. We want to maintain our European industry, so everything is made in Europe. cowbone saddles, Hanaback strings, Geva cases, machine heads from Europe. Everything is Europe. Because we need to protect our industry. I mean, I would say that 80% of all the musical stores is made in China, and we have to change that. Plus, less pollution on containers. You know, it's better for the climate of these guitars made in Europe. And, you know, we have even the Ecologia model. It's all European woods. And we put seeds on the guitars. I'll show you after.
So you said café au lait and café cortado.
Yes.
How does it translate into English?
Okay, well, café au lait, I will send you a video because we've done a fantastic video in Spain about café au lait. Very small ingredients of milk, but very small, just a spot. And that's a typical café cortado. So this is the meaning of coffee with milk.
Yeah,
so the café au lait is made in Spain, and the café cortado is made in North Europe and Romania.
Nice. Those are really beautiful.
Thank you. I invented this design because there's no feedback. The MR brand is a great visibility for the brand, and we put the armrest. It's not touching the top; it's touching the edges, and we put.
Really?
Yes, you can see that it's flotating on the top. It's not glued on the top. It's glued only in the edge, so it will not affect the sound.
Yeah, that's really a big thing, you know.
And it's wood. This wood is the same as a fingerboard. If it's more dark, it's ebony. If it's more clear like this, it's Indian rosewood. So we always put the same intonation of wood, the armrest with the fingerboard.
Nice. And so when you say there is no feedback, is it like because of the shaping of the sound hole, or because there is some brace inside that doesn't allow a lot of this?
Well, I think that you have the sound hole here on the sides. So having the sound hole on the sides, you're listening what you're playing, and when you plug on the amp, there's no feedback, or at least 90% less.
Nice.
So this version is cheaper. It's about 1,600 euros retail, and this one's about 4,000 retail made in Spain. That's laminated back and sides, and this is all solid.
But you know, that's the biggest difference. You know, like the feel of the instrument. Even, you know, even before you plug the strings, it's just so nice to touch. Such a nice piece of wood.
Well, because what we make in our workshop is rich in sound, rich in history, rich in beauty since 1905. 120 years is a long career of making guitars. So we know what we're doing, you know what I mean? And we have the gold of our old woods. That's what, it's really remarkable.
It's really nice.
So this guitar, I need to explain to you guys, is what Gypsy Kings is playing. Maestro Nicolás Reyes is playing these instruments because we help them with that passion duende. I'll send you a video that we were in the concert 2 weeks ago in Brussels and in Amsterdam explaining what's flamenco. Flamenco is happiness and sadness. Maestro Nicolás Reyes and Gypsy Kings. So, you know, when you listen to this music, we recommend you to close your eyes. It's like ghost bubble. It's like spiritual. It's like it touches your heart. And each concert is magic. It's different. It depends on the inspiration of how Nicolás Reyes and Gypsy Kings are singing. Same thing when we make the guitars. It's something inspirational. Depends how you wake up. Depends on the temperature. All the factors influence on the sound of that instrument. It's like a human being.
Then I probably have one first question for you.
Sure.
What is your favorite band now, and what was your favorite band when you were 20 years old?
Well, you should have asked me that question before. Well, I'm from the generation of the 60s, so I love the Beatles that time. And I like more the music that we have, like Sting, and that type of music that nowadays there's so much influence from our music from 1980s, right?
When you incorporate the classical music into modern music, you know.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. Well, of course, I love also Joaquin Rodrigo. Joaquin Rodrigo for me is an amazing inspiration because it's the real passion of Spain. For example, this cypress comes from Aranjuez. It's the best cypress in the world to make these flamenco guitars. But I know the family very well of Joaquin Rodrigo, Cecilia Rodrigo. For me, that concert is really España. It's really Spain. It's their wine. It's their beaches. It's their food. It's everything involved in that music.
So, you know, just I'm sure that a lot of people who watch this video are probably not going to be so deep into the classical music, you know, and classical culture and Spanish guitar culture. Like, what would be the one musician you would recommend as a guy who grown on Beatles? what would be the one guy who will introduce everybody to the classical music and to the sound of classical guitar?
Andres Segovia was the Pope. Andres Segovia used to come to my mom's home in LA. I was born in LA, in West Hollywood. I was a teenager. They called me Manolito. I was there in home. And my mom was making the flan, the dessert for these musicians, because there was no, 1950s, there was no restaurants, Spanish restaurants. So Andres Segovia was coming there and other famous musicians. And for me, Andres Segovia was the Pope, because thanks of him, we have the classical guitar in a very high level, because he inspired the classical guitar in the world. And same with flamenco, with Sabicas, Paco Lucia. You know, my grandfather is Gypsy family from San Fernando, Cádiz, and they also went to Russia to play the Tsar of Russia, flamenco music, in 1890s. Really? I have a wonderful book that my dad wrote. All the story is there. And Los Mareki.
What is his name?
The name is The Art of Classical Guitar, written by my dad. And the amazing of this book explains how my great-grandfather traveled by train to play flamenco for the Tsar of Russia. And then my grandfather learned to make guitars in a very funny way. In the First World War, a German ship vessel sank, and people were afraid to eat fish. So my grandfather was selling fish, he went bankrupt, and he started to make guitars for my great-grandfather. Thank of that ship, I'm here with you, telling you the story of Rodriguez guitars. Without that ship of the First World War from the Germans that died 1,000 soldiers, I wouldn't be here right now talking to you about Rodriguez guitars. That's life. That's how it works, you know what I mean? So it's a funny story, it's all published in the book.
That's crazy.
And it's really crazy. And then my grandfather went to Madrid. Madrid is the school of the classical guitar. They work in the Ramirez workshop, and then they open their own workshop in Slavapies, Ministriles. And that's when a teacher from UCLA was just walking downtown and saw my father and asked him why not going to Hollywood to make guitars. So he said, okay, let's go. No English, $100, some tools, and they went to the States, just married. And I was born there in West Hollywood. The reason of my mentality is that I want to make this brand global. So in 1980s, listening to the Beatles and or even before that, I was a truck, yellow pages and maps, no navigators, no cell phones, knocking doors all around Europe to get this brand worldwide. Now our cooperation is with Geva worldwide. They will be the fourth generation if it's God's wish. And I'm just helping me being the ambassador of the brand worldwide. We made in the expensive ones guitars in Spain, and in Romania the cheaper ones. But as I said before, made in Europe is important and a strong message.
Yeah. Well, you know, probably like it's such a beautiful craft. Like the art of classical guitar making, in contrary to like electric guitars and acoustic guitars, the thing is that battle is happening inside of the guitar rather than on the outside.
Yes.
It's such a beautiful shape that you can't really change so much. So you have to come up with a clever ways of how to make it sound the best rather than look the best, you know. And the one thing I think constantly about, like everybody starts as a producer of high quality Spanish guitars, and when you need to scale the production to make a mass production, you have to make a lot of painful decisions, you know, to cut the cost down, but to keep the sound accessible to everybody, you know. So what was probably like the hardest challenge when you try to keep the sound, but make it accessible?
My gosh, that's an amazing question. Tough to reply. But you know what? The secret is the wood. How you select the wood, how you dry the wood. The lighter the guitar is, the better it sounds. That's the reason why I recommend always like oil finish. Gloss finish is like a pressure for the guitar. So we do very thin tops, very thin back and sides, very simple bracing. The Torres bracing is the best because it's very simple. The more simple the guitar, it better it sounds. Age of the wood and very light, like flamenco guitars. And also try to make them exotic. Our brand is rich in sound, rich in history, rich in beauty since 1905. Would that answer your question? Or we didn't reach it.
Well, that gives a lot of ideas.
Okay.
But yeah, so generally, like the wood selection, you think this is the key here?
Okay. Well, not only the wood selection is also the narrow grain. The more age of the wood, the more light is that instrument. Putting good strings like Hanawak strings. all those small factors, the armrests that we put on them. You know, I want to change the classical guitar. It's too conservative. It's just A, B, C. I want to go to A to Z, you know, make it more modern. We need to reach the young people. We need to less social media with all those pictures there in Instagram and play on musical instruments. You inspire more your wisdom playing a musical instrument, violin, guitar, piano, anything, play music.
Well, yeah, like to me personally, you know, playing guitar, it's like meditation of sorts. You know, it gets you relaxed, you know,
of
even
course,
if you don't play nothing particular.
Yeah, I can imagine.
The movement of fingers, you know, it changes something in your brain, you know.
It's peace, no war.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, like me also growing from this acoustic guitar world and electric guitar world and rock world, you know, Martin came to America and he transformed the Spanish guitar from being an island instrument to the modern, like bright and hard-sounding acoustic guitar, like one of those, like this dreadnought. And it's, you know, it never hit me so hard, but it feels like, do you think he lost some soul of the instrument as he did so? Because there is a long-going tradition and he basically just crossed it over and started all over again.
Let me replay that question for you, sir. He first learned to make classical guitars. Madrid is the school of the will of the classical guitar. From the classical guitar came the evolution of steel string guitars and electrical guitars. So our roots, it's in Spain. Christopher Columbus went to the Americas with a viola. And that was the evolution in the States of steel string guitars and electrical guitars. My dad worked for Leo Fender in Hollywood.
Really?
So at the beginnings, just a few days, he was not very intensive. But being in Hollywood, he had amazing actors coming to his workshop to relax, as you said before. He had John Wayne or Steve McQueen, or many more, I don't remember the names. I was a small boy there. But I think it's good to have different types of instruments. Look at Ovation guitars. It's all like plastic fiberglass, but it's also lovely because it gives a different approach of sound.
Well, yeah.
So the more rich we have on musical instruments, I think the more we give that pleasure to the musician. So, and there's different type of music, classical music, steel string music, electrical music. So it's richness for the human being. And I think that's wonderful.
Yeah.
And it's encouraging for the human being. What do you think?
Well, I would totally agree. I was just wondering if you was mad at Martin.
No. I know Chris very well. I know Bob Taylor. I know all the big guys. We've been in trade show for many years. And I think everyone is doing a great job because, as I said before, we need more music in this world.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think the more music we create of musical instruments and we reach the kids playing musical instruments, we live in a more smart world.
Well, yeah, I totally agree. You know, especially when it comes to those fiberglass guitars, you gotta do something really good and hope that one talented guy will find a really good appliance to this thing you make.
Exactly.
You know, and if you did a good job, some genius will find a way to use it. You know, for
absolutely, I totally agree.
And so, like, we actually have a few of your guitars here, luckily. Most of them are standing right here. And, you know, like, price is not always the direct image of the quality of the guitar. You know, sometimes you get a guitar that's cheaper but sounds better, and vice versa. You know, could you maybe choose one of those guitars that you think would be the best?
You know what? Very few guitar makers are bringing eucalyptus. This is eucalyptus. It's a fast-growing wood, but we give a special tint. Maderas Madinter is the one who does this wood, and look at this exotic piece of wood, and it's from Spain.
From the side, it's
look at
beautiful.
that.
Yeah.
And this sounds terrific. We're trying to find new woods to reach different sounds. And also, as I said before in our dinner, when I spilled the wine, is that we need to find other resources, and as I said, we use fallen trees. We don't cut green trees. So this has a special tint on the wood, and it sounds amazing. So we're trying to approach different woods. By the way, remember that I gave you some seeds.
Yeah.
So let me show you guys.
It's only you gave me. I know they come in with Manuel guitars.
Exactly, but I gave you to insist that we put seeds in our guitars because we need to be sustainable. All these guitars are water varnish, and we bring the seeds. So these seeds are called Robinia. This Robinia, the flower, you can make marmalade, and it's well growth in Europe. We also have other seeds called acacia that we make them on the Ecologia model, that is all European woods. But I've been traveling around the world so much, and how we're destroying this planet, we must do something. I forgot to tell you, I was in Fiji making ukuleles before the pandemic.
Really?
And I was picking up with the kids plastics in the ocean. This project in Fiji was making ukuleles for the Fijians because they want to start importing. I left that factory working there, so we were making ekoleles with plastics, pineapple leles, and also coco leles with coconuts. So it was an amazing, inspiring experience. And now that's running by itself. And now I have this different approach with Geva promoting the MR brand around the world.
So do you think there is any chance for Brazilian rosewood coffee boxes coming back?
Not anymore, my friend. You see, when you see a tree of Brazilian rosewood, it's one tree in 100 square kilometers.
Really?
For these exotic ones that you saw. And of course, for Vitit, it takes 120 years to grow that. So I have gold. And being such an old brand, I have this wonderful woods so I can make the instruments so the machines can enjoy. The thing is that I'm 62, I don't look like 62, but I don't have enough time to make those guitars of 700 sets. So we will see how it goes.
Amazing. So you have 700 sets of back and sides for those guitars.
Yeah. We used to have, I mean, when my grandfather had it, we had about 2,000. But that's the reason why this wood is so high value, you know. I can't say the place where I keep it because maybe I get stolen. So,
so does it mean that you can count like 1,300 guitars being made in the past like century? We made in 120 years of this brand 500,000 guitars. So when God calls me to leave the planet, I have that heritage of my family in the planet of 500,000 guitars. And in that 500,000 guitars, there's many price range. It's expensive, middle range, but I'm very proud of how my grandfather and my dad work. And I think they must be happy because I keep, you know, getting that passion of the MR brand. Nice. And when it comes to, you know, the cedar one, that's also one that caught my attention instantly as I unpacked it. Because like this shimmering in the wood, it's fantastic. But when it comes to the, you know, when it comes to the tops, you know, if I, for example, lay down 4 of those guitars in front of you and ask you to pick the best sounding one, the best top that you can find. Like, is there any secret to those?
Okay, the one you have down there is Magistral, the first one. That is cedar top, and that's like a French finish. It's very thin coat. That guitar below 1,000 euros, made in Europe, it's a bargain. Guys, it's a bargain. 1,000 euros below that, made in Europe, all solid, with the armrest, Hanabac strings, cowbone saddles, 12 string holes. That's unbeatable in this country. I mean, in Europe. And the next one is also all solid. So comparing these two guitars, you can see it's better quality spruce and cedar comparing these two. Because these two are laminated back and sides and has a lower quality grain on the woods. But you can see it's wider, the grain. That means that the guitar has been growing very fast. It's been in a humid area. The more the tree is in a higher altitude, it sounds better because it's slow growth. So the rings of the tree depends also on the sound of the guitar. The more narrow is that grain, the better the guitar sounds.
It's actually like those two, there's a huge difference.
Exactly.
So it's almost twice as narrow as here.
That's a triple A and that's an A. So that's the reason why we use for a more economic instrument this tops. And then once you pay more, you have a higher quality wood. So time is quality, as I said before.
And that's actually probably one also good question, like how do you grade your woods, like those A, triple A, quadruple A?
On the grain, on the age of the wood, and also, you see, the more dark is the cedar, that means that's dead wood. If it's very light, it's green wood. So I think from my experience, dead wood sounds better than green wood because that tree has been fallen in the forest for ages and it's dead, there's no resin. Resin is the blood of the wood. So the resin is like the blood of the human being, it is movement. So I always recommend to make guitars with dead wood. And that's what we use when it's darker cedar, dead wood, and when it's more lighter, it's green wood.
You know, like I once had an opportunity to talk to Andy Allen from Maton Guitars.
Yes.
And his opinion is like, even though everybody really loves the dark rosewood, you know, it's such a pleasure to the eye, he always prefers the pale ones because it has less oil, and therefore.
That's true. That's true.
Therefore, it's lighter and it resonates better when you hit it.
Not only that.
Do you agree? Yeah.
Not only that, is that the more lighter the wood is, the more dense it is, less dense, I'm sorry, it won't crack. The more dense the wood, more risk of cracking with climate change. And the less dense, it's more flexible with the climate change. So that's another reason why I understand that option.
So you're doing obviously a huge amount of work right now. Do you still have the time to actually craft guitars with your own hands?
I make very few with my team. I have to keep the skills because it's my passion. So I have my team of luthiers. I like very much do the tops and the binding around. You see, a guitar like a beautiful woman, I said before, you have to make it beautiful and enjoy making them. And if I don't have this passion message and not in my bench trying to make them, I wouldn't tell you this story, you know what I mean? And I cannot, forget my skills because my grandfather taught me, my father taught me. I know my kids will not continue, but I have my great team of luthiers that they will continue my legacy in Madrid.
You know, just coming back to this last question, do you actually miss working with tools in the workshop?
In Madrid, we're opening in Carreta Street a workshop for tourism. We want people to know how difficult it is to make a guitar. We have in Spain 100 million tourists a year. And in this street where I'm going to build up this workshop, it's going to be open in a few months. We have 20,000 people on that street. It's called Carreta Street. And in this street, it's like Broadway in New York or like Oxford Street in London. So we'll have a workbench in the front on the screen of the workshop and behind like a guitar gallery of vintage Rodriguez guitars, my grandfather, my father, and what we do today. Because we need to show the people how difficult it is to make a musical instrument. When people buy a guitar, they think it's made in 20 minutes. No, there's so much hand involvement. Even if it's a guitar costs 300 euros, it's so much hand. You see, that binding is by string when you glue it. I'm going to send you how we glue the binding. It's all wood binding. Other brands use plastic binding. No, we use wood because they're really authentic. It's more labor, but it's authentic. Another thing very important that we forgot to explain is the Spanish heel.
There you go.
Guys, what I tried to explain is that it's very difficult to make these Spanish heel since 300 years is that the top, sides, back, and neck, it's glued at the same time. So we won't have any movement on the necks. And the other manufacturers in China or Asia, they do the body and they do, we call it cola de Milano. That means that you encrust the neck on the body. This way, it's a lifetime instrument and it won't move in so many climate environments that we travel with the guitar. That is important. All our guitars are Spanish heel. And talking about the workbench, your shop is fantastic because you give good warranty of your guitars because there's a luthier here adjusting the necks, adjusting the frets, and not many stores has that because I saw this guy doing it and phenomenal. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. Yeah, it's a little bit late in the night, so it's like almost 10 o'clock. So the guys left the store, but usually, just here there is a luthier who takes care of all the guitars that you see around the shop, and it's a huge work. And this is literally the main guy in our store. You know, every guitar you want to bring here, first we ask the Ivan, does he like it?
These guys are working even on Sundays. Fantastic.
And like, you know, the thing about how hard it is to make a guitar, that's one thing that I was wondering about, you know, when you send a boy to music school, you know, and he's going to clarinet or flute class, the cheapest okay flutes are going to be like 500 euros. And it's a flute.
Yeah.
And yet, for some reason, in people's mind, it feels like you can get an okay guitar for like 200 euros. And like, take a look at this piece of art and take a look at the flute. Don't get me wrong, flute players. But, you know.
That's a tremendous fight, my friend.
That's weird. How
and it's a very good question because we're working with wood. Metal also is a challenge to make these flutes, but it's so much hand involvement. That's the reason why I'm trying to, show how a guitar is made to the tourists so they value what they're buying. So these interviews is high value to explain all wood instruments is so much hand involvement. I would say that this Magistral model, for example, is 80% handmade. And for below 1,000 euros. Guys, it's a great deal.
And well, we're probably gotta round up a little bit, but you know, the one thing I gotta ask you.
Yes, sir.
You gotta learn me how to pronounce the names of those guitars correctly.
That's a good question.
Because there is a whole line of guitars.
Yeah,
each
let's go down there.
Name, and I've been always telling, like, this is Magistral.
This is a Spanish class, my friend.
All right, I'm all in for it. So this one is Magistral.
This one is Magistral.
Magistral.
This one is Café Cortado, right? This one is also Magistral because it has different woods. We have 4 models of Magistral, right? This one is what I said before, the eucalyptus, that it's Spanish wood, right? And this is Superior.
Okay, this one I got, Superior.
Pronounce, Superior.
Superior.
Magistral.
Magistral.
Café Cortado.
Café Cortado.
You won the prize, man. And this one is also from the Superior line. We have these 2 Superior lines. And this one here is Academia, the one you're going to come up now. But look at this exotic woods.
This is Zebrano, I believe.
Yes, Soprano. Look at this wood, guys. For this price, this is Academia. By the way, all the guitars are solid tops. We don't use never laminated tops on Rodriguez guitars. Very important. Solid top is a huge warranty for the sound.
And finally, there is Tradición.
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 Ole, ahí está. Bien hecho. Tradición is more African woods. It's mahogany, laminated back and sides, solid cedar top, and Hanabac strings, cowbone saddles. By the way, all the guitars has cowbone saddles. And this is another thing, all wood rosettes. No stickers, no plastic.
Really, those ones are also wooden?
Oh yes, You have to. I cannot put a plastic rosette in my brand, in my name. That's my signature there.
There's the one moment where I feel blame. Because like, I didn't think this was wooden. Yes. I didn't expect like in this price range.
It has to be wood. It has to be. All the guitars we make is wood. I cannot put a plastic rosette in my name. It's my signature's there. I'm responsible of this instrument. I cannot put balonies. It has to be really wood, right? Now this one is Ecologia. This guitar is really amazing because all European woods. It's walnut back and sides, solid spruce top, acacia neck, maple neck, and also, by the way, water varnish. You can see a QR code there so you can see how we apply this. Look at this wood, look at this walnut. I mean, you will enjoy these guitars. Play MR guitars or play any instrument, but play something.
That's great. That's great. So ecologia.
Ecologia.
All right. Now I'll be correct. I just want to show respect to those guitars. I truly love them. They're amazing.
Thank you, sir. But you didn't know that's wood, Rosette?
I honestly thought it wasn't.
Oh my gosh. That was a good interview.
Because it's a hell lot of work to do those.
Wait a second. We make these rosettes, record this please. We make these rosettes we take it's like a sausage, and we put small tiny pieces of wood, and then we cut in slices, and then we glue it there, right? But it has to be wood.
Yeah.
If it's no wood, it cannot be a Spanish guitar.
That's amazing. That's really good to hear. So, Manuel.
Yes.
Just anything you would love to share with everybody watching this, with the younger generation who's gonna just jump into this world of classical guitars?
I must admire this guy and their team to make this store in Beograd. When I came in here, this is like the Prado Museum of guitars. And we're living in a very tough environment of musical instruments. And I admire these guys, their entrepreneurship to do this shop. So all my support, guys, come to see this store in Belgrade. It's an amazing art gallery of steel string guitars, electrical guitars, and MR guitars. All the best, guys. God bless.